Yo, what's up? How's it going, everybody? My name is Hugh, and I lead Irreverent Warriors St. Louis. And we are here again on the Grunt Foundation podcast. I am here with my co host today, Anna. Anna, if you could introduce yourself.
Everyone, I'm Anna, and I am the lead for Fort Walton Beach, Destin. And I was on my phone because I had to share the podcast to IW pages. So hopefully you are all watching now.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, our illustrious marketing director. I appreciate it. We kind of start out this week. Welcome, everybody. We start on kind of a somber note. Last weekend, we were hit by some severe tornadoes here in Missouri, as well as some of the neighboring states. And the Grunt Foundation and Irreverent Warriors, some of the windows in our office were blown out as a tornado went by. We were in the path of totality and or in the path of destruction, I should say. And we were extremely lucky. So somebody was watching out for us. But
on May 16th, 2025,
we-
a devastating tornado tore a
We were-
23-mile path through St. Louis.
yeah, we were. That's some of the video of the tornado as it came through. But Irreverent Warriors Missouri members jumped into action immediately in partnership with the Grunt Foundation. They went to the Grunt Foundation warehouse and were able to put together care packages for people in the affected area to the tune of $25,000 worth of clothing that we were able to get out and distributed on Monday and Tuesday in the areas around St. Louis in Missouri that were hit of grunt-style clothing. So that was one thing that we did to jump into action to try to help the people that had catastrophic damage. I personally was very lucky. I just lost my air conditioner at home, and so we had to deal with that. But and very lucky at the office. Again, the Grunt office and the Irreverent Warriors office were hit by the tornado and lost a bunch of windows. But no loss of life. We were extremely lucky. So big shout out to the Irreverent Warriors members that got together to deliver that $25,000 worth of clothing to the impacted areas. I also wanted to mention today our sponsor, the VFW. Shout out to the VFW, partnering with Irreverent Warriors and being our title sponsor for 2025. VFW is going through an incredible amount of change and transformation starting at the top, and it is trickling its way down, so stay tuned. But the VFW is positioning itself to be able to advocate for these new healing modalities. And I speak to the VFW leadership in Kansas City on a regular basis, and they are fully supportive of Irreverent Warriors and Grunt Foundation. Also, Boots, Banner, and Beyond podcast. Shout out to Boots, Banner, and Beyond podcast. That's the IW podcast that goes deep into IW stories and leaders within IW. So they're dropping new episodes all the time. Check out Boots, Banter, and Beyond podcast. Shout out to Eric and our folks over on the East Coast. And great. All right. So who do we have as guests today, Anna? Tell us about it.
Today we have Jenna. Are we doing Jenna and Matt first? Because that is Philly. So we have the Philly coordinator, and Jenna Carlton is founder of the Millennial Veterans. And she's going to talk a little bit about that and also about her first hike, which happened to be the Philly hike. So we're going to go into that a little bit, talk about the event and how it went and how it impacted her, and then maybe work through a little bit of her veterans workbook if we have the time.
Great. I love that. I'm a huge fan of Jenna and everything that she does with the Millennial Veterans. I think as and it's so awesome to have one of our own Irreverent Warriors members that has such a successful advocacy going online for the younger veteran generation and those of us that are trying to find our way. So she's inspired me a lot. I've read her book, and I've done her journaling exercises, and also we've made hike cards with her that have been used on some of the IW hikes, right? So can't wait to hear from her.
Yeah, she is officially full-fledged a part of IW now, as she w- the Philly hike was her first hike, and she before it even ended, I think she already has was planning her next attendance. So there's just something that is super unique about the experience that you just won't know until you get it.
But love it. Thank you.
Hi, Jenna.
Hello, hey, I'm up here. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's a nice quiet Friday. I don't have kids in the house, don't have husband, family in the house, so it's a beautiful day.
Good start to a long weekend for sure. So,
Yes.
why don't you tell us a little bit about how you first heard about Irreverent Warriors and kind of how it led up to your first event?
Oh my goodness. So I've been stalking you guys online since, gosh, when I started in 2020, doing online veteran stuff. I followed Irreverent Warriors on Instagram because, the millennial veteran, I'm looking for places that younger veterans are going to. And I feel like these hikes definitely attract a younger crowd. Um, I, I was like in the thick of, I had pregnancy, then I was pregnant again, and I just couldn't make a hike happen until I moved to the Philly area last year. And I was like, you know what? I'm just putting it on the calendar. I'm in the Facebook group, I'm connecting with people, and just made it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of similar to my first exposure to IW. I was in Okinawa when I first started following it in 2015 online, and then I wasn't able to make it to a hike until I was in Florida for school, and then I just randomly saw it pop up, and I was like, oh, gosh, I can make this one, and that's when it all started and went uphill, downhill, grew huge.
Right. And now you're the coordinator of the whole hike.
Yeah, yeah. That I've been the coordinator now for this area for 2 years, and I'm building up an awesome team. They're already start we're kind of spread out, so it's like an hour away from each other, but they're starting to build up their local areas, so we're trying to take over the Emerald Coast.
Oh, that is so cool. So how, sorry, can I ask a question? How does that start, like, to be able to start pitching it for a new city? Is there a proper process, or is this just something you got to be loud about until you get it?
Well, Hugh, I don't know if you want to take this or not. I know for us, at least just starting the Silky Psych in the town, you just have to do it. You have to have boots on the ground, go in, talk to businesses, things like that. As for behind the scenes, we have a pretty structured process for people applying to be leadership, and then we help train them through that.
Okay. Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so one thing I could jump in on is the first step is definitely attending hikes, right? And you'd be amazed at how many folks see it online, want to start a chapter, and haven't attended a hike or really gotten involved. So one of the things is to attend a hike. And then the next step is, when you're ready for the next level, is to volunteer at a hike. It doesn't even have to be one in your town. You could volunteer at a hike in a nearby city, and basically just tell that hike coordinator via their Facebook group for that hike, because each city has its own IW Facebook group. So I'm the chapter leader in St. Louis, so my Facebook group is IW St. Louis in Facebook, and Anna's is IW Fort Walton Beach. And those are the different private Facebook groups we have to run the chapter. And if you join one of those groups, like if I'm going to hike in DC, I join the IWDC Facebook group to talk with everybody ahead of time. And what you can do is you go to a hike, and then the next step is to contact somebody at that chapter and say, hey, I want to volunteer. I want to be a part of the volunteer team, and I want to really start participating on the leadership side. And so they'll assign you a task, as they deem fit, but you have to join the planning meetings on Zoom, and you have to be a part of the planning leading up to the hike. And then that way you kind of get to see behind the scenes. And then from there, it's easy to become then, to bring that back into your own city. But those are kind of the first two steps we recommend. We do have a form on our website under the frequently asked questions. If you want to volunteer or you would like to start a chapter, we can definitely have those conversations with you. Ed will be on this show later. He's the one that does a lot of the second round interviews for those leaders. But yes, we have a process where we like people to immerse themselves in IW, understand the culture, and then see what something unique they could bring to the culture. We've got new leaders that are joining and they want to do a kayaking event in their area, which is phenomenal, right? We want folks to be able to bring in their own flavor, to bring in their own way of healing, to bring in their own unique and authentic interests that they're into and bring them. So it's not just hikes, right? We do hikes, we do float trips, there's snowboarding things. There's different events all over, and it's really cool to see people bring their own authentic, unique flavor.
Yeah, we're doing a beach bash in October. So people are able to come out, and we have 3 pretty large pavilions that are just going to be ours. There's going to be food, beverages, all that. So if anyone's looking to do something around Columbus Day, you should come to Fort Walton Beach area.
Hey, I'm there. That sounds so much fun. Because that was one of my questions is like, so I was trying to get my women's group to come, and a lot of them are a little older, maybe 50 plus, and the hike was just, really intimidating, or maybe some of those who have been injured. But no, I love how you guys are doing, different things like that are even more accessible.
Yeah. And one thing to keep in mind with that is we do try to keep a slow pace for the Silkies hikes, so they're not an athletic event. So we're keeping in mind that we have kind of older or broken people for sure. But one of the coolest facts that I love to tell people is that our female participation in attendance and in leadership runs at about 38 to 40% of all participants, which is incredible considering that the female veteran percentage is essentially the same as the veteran to civilian population. So we have the highest female veteran participation in any organization that is co-ed. So it's a good, healthy environment just based on those statistics, I would say.
No, definitely. It felt like coming home when I was there. um, but I will have to say, I think this is a great opportunity for a conversation, if you guys don't mind, like how you guys have changed so much in the past year, especially with Hugh coming on. I've had people reach out to me saying, oh, I went to those hikes and it used to, I didn't like the vibe. It was a woman texted me, a friend of mine. I'm not going to name any names, but she was like, yeah, I used to go to those. And, I just had a bad experience with someone being, drunk and obnoxious and, not really woman friendly. And then I was talking to someone else recently and they were like, yeah, someone who was involved with Irreverent Warriors. So like there was a bad kind of name attached to it, but I just like push back on them. I'm like, hey, they've changed a lot. There's been a lot of new leadership, new culture, and really a new focus on mental health and suicide awareness even more now. And I definitely felt very comfortable during the hike, and we took a huge picture with all the women with us. It was pretty badass, and it was really empowering.
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about Irreverent Warriors, I would say, is that there's always been growth. Like the difference from 2015 to 2020 and then now 2020 to 2025. And the most unique thing is that Irreverent Warriors, we don't really attract the healthiest people. It's usually the people where things aren't going super well for them. They don't have a lot of friends or family or um, mental health help. So when they're coming in and all of a sudden they're exposed to something as leaders, it's our opportunity to try and help them grow and provide that opportunity that they've never had before. So it's been really encouraging seeing the culture, the entire culture of IW growing and changing with us because everyone does want a desire to be better and uh, do more, essentially. So it's encouraging that that's what you noticed as well.
I would add that for those that had challenging hike experiences in the past, give us another chance. And on top of that, as Anna said, we basically put up the IW flag and we say, send us your most traumatized. Send us the folks that have the most emotional issues and need the most help and need the most peer support. And so there are situations that arise at almost every hike where we've got to kind of understand that somebody's going through a lot and it may not come out in the most productive way. And for sure, we are always working to create a safe environment. But when you get all those different folks together that are meeting each other for the first time, it is incumbent for us as leaders to step up and set the example and to be emotionally intelligent and to lead with kindness, And every hike I go to is a learning opportunity for me, and that's just what we're working with when we're dealing with a lot of folks that have a lot of emotional trauma. That some took it into the military, some obtained it in the military, and then either way, there's a lot of feelings that come out. When you get back into that military element, and just being cognizant of that and trying to lead with emotional intelligence has helped us a ton.
And
So,
none of this is giving any excuse to people being douches, for sure. We're also creating opportunities to where we can hold people accountable at our events. We have processes set in place for that. So we encourage people to take the routes that they need so we can address situations like this.
yes, that is true. And well, speaking of the Philly hike, let's bring up Matt and let's talk about what occurred on the Philly hike. I want to hear about it. I have a little bit of FOMO. I want to know what the highlights are.
Ali.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Hey.
Jenna, long time no see, Jenna. It's been
right.
Oh, the Philly hike came and went so quick. I feel like I'm just still processing all the stuff that happened. It was I felt like it was a really good hike. We didn't have any major issues come across, which is amazing. I think one of the pictures I sent you guys was the one Jenna was talking about. I think there was a picture that said Saturdays are for the women, are for Saturdays are for the ladies. I think it was
for the girls.
That. Yeah, there it was. I had that picture. I slapped it up there. It was a good hike. It wasn't like a huge turnout, which I'm fine with. I don't need 250, 300 people. I'm comfortable doing less than 200, and I'm fine with that. There it is, right there.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good hike. We stopped by the Tun Tavern because I have to appease all the Marines. It's a very Marine heavy hike because Philly is the birthplace of you guys. And as an army guy running a Philly hike, surrounded by Marines, I gotta. I give them crayons. I fed the crayons in the morning. I did my Marine tax, and they let them do their little Marine Corps anthem at the Tun Tavern sign. So yeah, it was a good time.
Dude, I prefer when my hikes are 100 or less, usually, because it just is logistically more feasible when you're not in somewhere like Texas that has huge places with tons of bathrooms. But then also, I get to talk to everyone and make a connection with everyone. Whereas I've been to some hikes where it's been 400 people, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't even know if I've seen this person before.
That is literally the biggest challenge with Philly because it's a very smashed together city. It's impossible to find a spot for 200 people to eat lunch. It's I have to do it at this Korean War Memorial because it's one of the few spots where I can have enough room for people, and there's shade, there's places to sit, and there's bathrooms. Well, I had to bring my own bathrooms because there's not bathrooms nearby because the city of Philadelphia won't open them up. But it's that's the biggest challenge for me is just finding room for 200 people to congregate and hang out. Luckily, there was one bar they were like, yes, please come. We have plenty of room. And one of my friends used to work with her, one of the managers. So they let us in there. We did our meet and greet there, and we did one of our stops there, and they were just Tirnanog in Philly. They were just amazing. I can't say more good things about them.
It's amazing. Yeah, we're maybe having to switch the towns when we do our hike next year from Fort Walton to one of the surrounding towns because Fort Walton is it's an older town, so it's pretty small.
We had the only hiccup we had, like, it was literally like 2 weeks before my hike. I had to change my meet and greet spot and my lunch spot because all of a sudden they wanted to charge me $10,000 to go there. I was like, good, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's rude.
Right. Last year they're like, oh yeah, we'll have you, and then this year it's like, oh, it's $10,000. I was like, yeah, it's
Wow.
not something I'm comfortable paying, but thanks, appreciate it anyway.
Yeah,
But other than
last
that, it went
year,
smooth. Yeah. The one picture you saw us doing push-ups was right in front of the Constitution Hall, like Independence Hall, right there. So it's like, if you've never been to Philly, it's this big grass area, and right in front of it is Independence Hall, and like right next to it is Liberty Bell. It's a really cool spot. Tons of history right there. Another one of our stops, we got to see the Ben Franklin house. So it was where his original house was built, and they had these little, just kind of like architectural rises, if you will, to represent his house. And there's pictures of the house, and then you can look down, you can still see foundation of like different parts of his house in the ground, looking through like glass areas. It's a really cool spot.
didn't it like burn down by lightning or something?
I'm sorry, what'd you
I said, didn't it burn down by lightning or something?
say? Probably over there testing, trying to get electricity going. Burn that sucker down.
Yeah,
I've got a question. I've got a
Bell.
question. I've got a question for Jenna. So Jenna, thinking back on your hike experience, like what do you think the most healing aspect of the hike? Like if you think about the healing that occurred on the hike, the feelings it brought up for you, the things it allowed you to process, the things about the military it allowed you to readdress. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was kind of going through a rough patch this past winter, losing my job and whatnot. So just being able to vent to people that, like just your frustrations and just having people listen. Honestly, like the people I was around in the military weren't the best at times. There's a lot of great people, but I'm used to not being able to show my feelings around, other military members. Like I think I still have that mindset sometimes when I go to veteran events. Like I'm very cautious of not wanting to seem weak or oversharing. But I on the hike, I just poured my heart out to strangers, and I was just met with like a lot of love and empathy. So that was really cool. And kind of healing, you know, my inner sailor, my inner person who served, because she was so afraid to show that side.
I know she talked about how you don't need to be in the best shape. We had an 82-year-old. I can't remember. I was in my little head when I was talking to him. I think he was either Vietnam or Korean vet. I can't remember which, but he was 82 years old. He stayed with us the whole hike. Was walking through the whole time. I was like, so if you're not sure if you're physically fit or not, I was like, if an 82-year-old guy can do it, you're fine. Like he was with us the whole time.
Oh yeah, and he kept pace.
Mm-hmm. We did run into one little minor hiccup that I literally the week of my hike, I rewalked the route to make sure everything was fine, and then the day of our hike there was a random street festival that we had to walk through, which was really. First I got there, I was like, you know what, F it, push through it. So we had 130 military veterans all pushing through this street festival, and everybody's like we're handing out cards like, what is this? What is this? Like, here we are. This is us. This is us. This is us. And people are like, yeah, let's go. But I was like, surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, we almost had to all link arms to, not lose one another, to rope through the crowd. It was pretty intense. But I think that was one of something I didn't even think about that was going to happen, was the reaction to the public. Everywhere we went, there was eyes on us, or like, hey, what's this about? And I loved how, we constantly had people handing out cards, or like, saying what we're hiking about, and just bringing awareness to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Feedback on that, yeah.
I think it sounds like one I'm going to want to make next year, and it sounded really fun. And I hope you both make it to a couple more. As we move through the summer, our busy season is really, spring through fall. That's when we have the most Irreverent Warriors events. We're going to be doing that same thing, pushing through giant crowds here in St. Louis on July 4th. So. Excited because there's going to be a huge festival, and we're doing a hike at the festival and through the festival, so it's going to be pretty cool. But Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you both so much for coming and sharing your story and sharing what happened in Philly. And we look forward to some of the next events that are coming up. So thank you both. And now we're going to bring up Ed. Ed is with our operations team. He is the director of operations, and he will be. Yep, and Ed will be. Yep, talking about upcoming hikes and some what's going on over the next 6 weeks.
What's up, guys?
Or
Can y'all hear me?
yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, I think.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's going.
Oh, we're good now.
All right. How are y'all doing?
Pretty.
Good, good, good. Cool deal. Well, we are wrapping up the month of May. We've had just an outstanding month with Philly, which we just heard their story. Salt Lake City, I was just there last weekend. That was an amazing hike. We had about 71 people there. Just a great day all the way around. Knoxville had a good turnout. They changed their route a little bit, spent more time on the green belt, so a lot of people really enjoyed it. A lot of good reports coming out of that. We'll be closing out the month with Normandy, and at the very end, but this weekend is Milford and Virginia Beach. Milford being a suburb of Boston. So we got Bob Savin there, David Cram over in Virginia Beach. Also going to be part of Freedom Fest with Grunt Style over there in their big festival they got going on. Rolling into June, right off the bat, we got Galveston coming up June 7th, along with Columbus, Ohio. Galveston is one of our OGs with Mark Metzger. That one, if anybody's ever been there, that's a pretty good place to be. A lot of fun. It's not like one of our traditional hikes, so I wouldn't use it as something to focus your attention on as far as what you're looking for in IW. It's a good meetup. It's a one of its kind. So I think you're going to be there, right, Anna?
I am, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It definitely helps that Mark basically owns the town of Galveston. And he's been doing this since the beginning. I think him and Crystal from Jacksonville, North Carolina, are one of the few that have been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he handles it all.
Yeah, he's a hell of a guy. His personality is as big as him, and along with his heart. So I got nothing but good things to say about Mark. And anybody who's never met them, take a moment if you go to that hike, just walk up and shake his hand. He'll probably just end up giving you a hug. So come up after that, we got Spokane, Washington, with Tony Matthews and their crew. Then we have Vincennes with their inaugural hike. They're in Indiana. With Stacy, the ones who just hosted the Indiana integration retreat. So looking forward to that. They got some pretty good numbers rolling in. Right there in the middle of the month, you got an IW float on the Merrimack River. Uh, Hugh, you're going to be a part of that. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So the June 20th through the 22nd, we're having a 200-person float trip on the Merrimack River in the Ozarks, which is about an hour southwest of St. Louis. It's beautiful, gorgeous water, clear water, cliffs, bluffs, just amazing nature scenery you're not going to find anywhere else. So come join us in the Ozarks, June 20th through the 22nd. And if you join IW St. Louis Facebook group, you can get access to all the information on how to sign up. And it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have music, live music. We're going to have catered food at the campsite, and it's open to friends and family. So it's not veteran only. It is completely open. So if you're looking for something to do the third weekend of June, we got you covered. It's going to be very calm float trip. It is not whitewater. It'll be very relaxing. Wonderful time in nature in the Ozarks. So yeah, come join us.
That's awesome. You guys got something else coming up too. Celebrate St. Louis 10-year anniversary, right? I attended it last year. This year's going to be a little bit different. You can actually have a hike integrated with it.
That's right. Yes. So this year, actually last year, yeah, we did do a hike right in the parade. This one's going to be different. This one's going to be more urban, but to celebrate IW's 10-year anniversary, we're having a massive concert and fireworks display under the St. Louis Arch on the 4th of July. So anybody that lives within driving distance of St. Louis, highly recommend coming. It's going to be the IW's 10-year birthday anniversary celebration, and it's going to be really, really, really wild. We've got country music star Gavin DeGraw. He's going to be the headliner. There's a lot of other acts, DJs, different things like that. And it's going to be under the St. Louis Arch, and it will be the biggest fireworks display in North America. That is what and I will put that up against any other fireworks display. It will be the biggest. It's over the Mississippi River. It's under the St. Louis Arch. Come join us, 4th of July, St. Louis, IW 10-year celebration.
And we are going to be releasing our Irreverent Warriors documentary for public viewing on a few different streaming platforms in July. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Well, that's
That's
great.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, that Fourth of July celebration in St. Louis is one of its kind. I went last year, me and my wife had an absolute blast. St. Louis is super welcoming. They put on a great show, super welcoming to us. So anybody, even if you're not driving distance, if you can fly there, get there. You'll have fun.
All right. Well, that about wraps up everything I had on the agenda. Anna, anything further to share?
Yeah, if you were wanting, if Jenna was wanting to as well, we could go through a little bit of her veteran workbook. She could talk about that and kind of explain what it is and how you can utilize it to improve your health. We're in. Hi, Jenna. I think you're muted still.
Hey, glad to be back. Yeah, so I created the Veteran Workbook. It is a journal style book for veterans. It helps you walk through, what you went through in service. And if you're not ready to talk about it with someone, you can talk about it with yourself. And I really think there's power in putting pen to paper and writing your story. And this workbook pretty much asks you all those questions that you may not have been asked before or don't know, like haven't asked yourself. I know a lot of people are intimidated by a blank sheet of paper. I definitely am. So having this structure to go through different questions, anything from reflecting on service, how to recreate structure in your life, how to re-identify who you are now without the military, and also planning for a better future because, when you were getting out, you were excited, may have been excited, or maybe it was unexpected, but you need to focus on what's next. And sometimes we get stuck in the past, but when we write it down, we can move past it. So yeah, that's the Veteran Workbook in a nutshell.
So, I know I haven't seen the workbook yet myself, but I have the cards. I know people have probably seen these around the IW page a little bit, trying to start conversations with people. And are these questions the same sort of thing that are in the book?
Yes. Yeah. So some of these questions are from the book. Some of them are from my Instagram page. Some of them, I would say, like the cards are a little more fun and, something that you can do with others. Well, the book is a little more deep and reflective and focused on mental health. While these are more for like camaraderie and community building.
Yeah, that is super cool. I'm gonna have to definitely check that book out. I've really loved asking these questions to people and hearing just the crazy difference in all of the answers. There's some that are similar, but there are just some where it does make you think of things in a way that you haven't thought of them before. And it's been really, really awesome seeing how many people have been willing to share their stories on a public forum to connect with everyone else. So I've been really appreciating being able to use these as a resource.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing them. And it's amazing. I feel like we don't know, what questions to ask, and especially civilians are so cautious around asking veteran questions, and they're not asking these. One of my favorites is, what did the military teach you about love? And it's kind of one of those questions where people don't think about love with the military, but I've gotten like the most surprising answers, and I've seen grown men tear up at this question because of what it made reflect on.
Yeah, I can only imagine for sure.
That
You,
that's really, yeah, that's really powerful. I was going to mention that I've done the journaling book, and I found it really, really, really valuable. And rest in peace, Mike Wilkie, one of our largest chapter leaders at IW, who recently passed away. Oh, here he is. Here he is, right here. He's the co-host in the studio. He just recently, about a month ago, passed away unexpectedly, suddenly, in a medical procedure. But and we've been honoring his legacy. He was a big fan of the veteran workbook, and he was halfway through the veteran workbook, journaling through it, and he and I would compare notes and share. And he felt that this really needed to come to the IW community. He felt that this type of, just introspection, digging into your own feelings and your own thoughts, and something that the IW leadership has been talking about a lot recently, and I know Anna, you and I and Ed and Nate have talked about this a lot, is that at IW, we don't believe that there's a guru out there that's going to solve your problem. We don't believe that there's going to be a doctor at the VA that's going to fix you. We don't feel like you need another pill or another bottle of alcohol, to help your problems. We believe that you are going to heal you. And at the end of the day, you are going to find your own unique healing path and your own unique healing journey. And what we try to do is just introduce people to as many different tools as you can find in your healing journey. But you are going to decide your treasure map to your healing journey, and reconnecting with your joyful childlike self, and reconnecting with, waking up with gratitude, like you are going to do that for yourself. And these different tools like the veteran workbook, where you're journaling and you're going deep introspection, whether you know it or not, while you're journaling these answers to these questions, like what did the military teach you about love, you are meditating. You are in contemplation, you are in meditation. And it's these different tools where getting out into nature, or whether it's through plants or things that allow you to feel safe and going deep with yourself, and starting to unravel a lot of the things that we shove down, a lot of the things that we've set aside, and a lot of the things, I spent a lot of my life distracting myself from all of my emotional issues, and burying my emotional stuff until it just got so much that I couldn't handle it anymore, and my life was starting to come apart, and then I had to start addressing it. And I started with plants, and then I went into hiking by myself, and then I went into like different types of journaling, and then different types of meditation, group meditations and guided meditations and stuff. So, and I'm not pushing any of that on anyone. Like, that's my path, that's my thing. So, I don't want, anyway, bottom line is this workbook that Jenna's put together, very helpful for the IW community. Mike Wilkie was pushing it very hard and enjoyed it a lot. It's something that I enjoy. So, the more things like this will come out in the future, more tools, that we can have in our tool belt. And it may not be for you. Maybe you try it, it's only $5 or whatever. It's a very, very, very cheap, but you try it out. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you give it to somebody else. Maybe it works amazing for somebody else. But the idea is just to introduce as many types of healing modalities and tools to our community as we can. A lot of us were taught when we were in the military and when we got out that the way you deal with emotional problems is to take a pill. Pharmaceuticals are going to solve your problem. And, in my experience, it was a Band-Aid. And it did help like crutches do for a certain amount of time, but you're just going to use crutches for the rest of your life? I mean, I'm not saying all medications are crutches, but what I am saying is for me, that's how I was utilizing them. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, there's Ed.
There it
Ed has been doing the veteran workbook and journaling through the questions himself. So yeah. Anyway, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, this one I got from Mike Wilkie.
Yeah. Yeah. So the introspection, and Jenna, you shared those with us. Those were for Mike, the books that you shared.
Okay.
Yep. So thank you so much. But yeah, I know he's looking down right now on us from wherever he is, and he's like, yeah, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh,
And that's
man.
a great way to end the show. So thank you, Mike, and thank you everybody for tuning in, and thanks to all the guests. And see you all next week. Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.